Okay. Oh, I'll just turn off the transcription. We don't need the transcription. Okay, yes, so thank you so much for coming today and welcome to the first Energy Communities Repository webinar around cities and citizens and what we can do together to really enhance these amazing collaborations that are energy communities. This morning, I'm going to do a short introduction to give an overview of the repository and what we've been doing, and particularly around the collaboration with cities and citizens. Then I'm going to give a little, just a short overview on giving some examples of city to citizen collaboration based on some of the work I've been involved with and the Scale Municipal Guide. Then we have some great speakers. We have Mario Rajn, the mayor of Križevci in Croatia, who'll be talking about the work they've been doing there. We have Jelena Nikolic from Elektropionir, which is an energy community in Serbia. And they'll be talking about their work in Serbia and also how they've been working with the municipality. And then we have Gerard Pol from the city of Strasbourg, who is also part of an energy community. So it should be a really interesting session. And then at the end, we want to really make sure there's lots of time for questions and answers, because we really want to hear from you. You know, what are the issues? What are the opportunities? And what are the things that would be useful for us to discuss and take forward? Great. So if everyone's okay, I will start sharing my screen and start the first presentation. Okay, can people see my screen okay? Yeah, great. Okay, so as I say, to start with, I just wanted to give a quick overview. So my name's Anna Francis. I work for Energy Cities and I'm part of the team delivering the Commission's Energy Communities Repository. And it's been really a fantastic program to be part of, to see the real impact on the ground of all the assistance and the other activities that we've been developing. So as you may know, there are actually two initiatives that are currently available to support energy communities. I'm part of the Energy Communities Repository along with Rescoop, Federen, the Florence School of Regulation and Akiron. There's also the Rural Energy Community, which unsurprisingly has been helping rural communities, whereas the Energy Communities Repository has been focusing on urban-based communities. But we've been working very closely in collaboration to make sure that there is support for everybody, no matter where their activities are based. And in terms of how we're supporting energy communities, there are sort of three main areas. We've been doing some policy analysis, and there will be a new policy report that will be launched in September. We've been mapping and looking at the impacts of energy communities, and there is a survey that we would love some of you to fill in if you're part of an energy community. And then we've been delivering as well some technical assistance, which is what I've personally been involved in a lot, which is really, really great to see the impact of sharing ideas and really sort of learning from each other rather than reinventing the wheel. And if you haven't visited already, I would really suggest visiting the Energy Communities Repository website. We are just currently developing a range of good practice. So there'll be lots of case studies that you can be looking at to get inspired and seeing learn from others. There's already a long list of EU projects and initiatives, which again are fantastic projects to get involved with or to share resources. We have a section on one-stop shops, which again is really useful to see how different communities and citizens and municipalities have approached this. And then we have a really, really comprehensive toolbox, which has over 120 different resources and things. So if you're looking for something specific or you just want a general guide, it's really the go-to place for getting informed around energy communities and what we can all do together, both in municipalities and as citizens. So just to give you a quick overview of the technical assistance applications. So we launched the call for applications last summer, and then the applications, the window closed at the end of last year. And this just shows the geographic spreads of the different communities that applied. And we had a particular focus on sort of Eastern Europe and Balkans, because we felt that that was an area where the movement is less developed and where the support could be of most use. So as you can see, there's a kind of slant towards those areas, with also a lot of applications and interests from Spain, which is great, and Italy and Greece. So in terms of our impacts and what we're delivering, we're currently working with 25 communities around Europe to deliver direct technical support. So that's quite an in-depth support, looking at their needs and working with a network of country experts who've done these community projects, who've got experience, who can then help these communities to develop and grow. We have 45 communities that are receiving online twinning and peer learning. So again, learning from these experts or these people that have done similar projects, but at a sort of slightly lighter touch, or having just learning from them through a few sessions online or in person. And then I'll be talking a bit about this in a moment, but we're also organising 80 communities will be hopefully participating in national capacity building workshops. And again, we warmly invite you to participate as well if you're interested in setting up an energy community or you're part of an existing one in the countries that I'll be mentioning shortly. And then just to say, so a lot of the communities that applied, unsurprisingly, were quite, at the beginning of the journey. They were like, right, what can we do? And we need some support setting up. We're looking at governance. And we were pleased to see that a lot of communities already had the municipalities on board, even though they were often quite at the early stages. So in the Czech Republic, we had, for example, a PV and heat pump project where the municipality was helping to lead on that project with the community energy organisation. In Greece, we had Hydro project, which again had a strong involvement from the municipality. In Portugal, we had the Climate Action Centre that leading to the creation of an energy community in partnership with the municipality. In Germany, again, the municipality was involved in selecting sites for solar. And in Cyprus, it was actually a municipality that applied that wanted to set up the first energy community in the country. So it was really great to see these partnerships already involving, because as we'll see through this webinar, it really is such a powerful partnership, a win-win combination. And as you know, as you're here today, today's the first of our webinars. And basically, we looked at what the needs were from the applicants for the technical assistance, and we developed the program of webinars based on those needs that were identified. So the first one is today talking about how cities and citizens can collaborate. In July or possibly September, we'll be launching the next one around really taking you through the steps of how you can set up an energy community. So it's particularly of interest for those at an early stage. We'll also be talking about our legislative frameworks and the report that I mentioned that will be launched in September. So really looking at what are the opportunities and the barriers in each different country. We'll be looking at how we can set up one-stop community energy shops and support networks. In October, we'll be looking at how you build a business case for your energy community. And then finally, we'll be finishing with how to organize a community investment campaign. And just to say, so the repository as it is finishing officially at the end of this year. And then the idea is that there'll be a new energy communities facility that then takes on a lot of these activities and actually scales up the support that will be available for communities next year. So as I mentioned, we are organising some capacity building workshops that are due to start any moment. So if you have contacts or are based in these countries and know of anyone that might be interested, please do get in touch with us. If you're not on our newsletter, do let us know so that we can really get as many people involved in these as possible, because the idea is to really have a quite in-depth one-day webinar looking at what the opportunities are, learning from others, and really helping the whole movement in these areas. And just to mention, I just really wanted to highlight some specific resources for municipalities and for citizens, because there are some really, really great things that are already available. There's no point in reinventing the wheel. There's already so many great examples, and there's general guidebooks, which are brilliant. And there's also some sort of more specific documents that take you through the steps that need to happen to set up a successful energy community. So in particular, I would highlight the Community Energy Municipal Guide from the Scale 2030-50 project, and I'll be talking a bit more about that in a moment. And there are some really specific guides, for example, the Procurement Guide for Community Energy, because we know from working with municipalities, for example, that issues around procurement and how you can incentivize and enable energy communities to bid for tenders is really, really important. So there are some really, really useful specific guides. And actually the Scale 2030-50 project is launching a new, I think it's just launched a new guide around very detailed sort of methodology. So if you're looking at setting up an energy community, or you want to develop yours further, it's a really good reference to look at the different steps that you can take to really enhance those areas. Yeah, I think those are the resources that I wanted to mention at this stage. So now I'm going to talk a little bit and give some examples using the Scale Municipal Guide around successful city and citizen collaboration. And then we'll hear from our great speakers more directly around their stories of what they've experienced on the ground. Oops. It's funny. Don't know why it transitioned like that. Yes, so what we found when the Scale 2030-50 guide was being put together is that often the most successful community energy projects in Europe are those where groups have collaborated with local authorities, because there really is so much that can be done at that scale. I personally worked for a local authority in the UK, and I also set up an energy community, and we were a small town council, and we were like, oh, how are we going to meet? We really want to be zero carbon. How are we going to do it? We haven't got much money, we haven't got much resources. But then when we worked as the energy community and got volunteers on board, it was amazing to see the enthusiasm, the interest, the engagement, and it meant that we could bring in a huge amount more extra investment, many more solar projects that we had imagined. So I can speak firsthand about this amazing approach. So that I would really encourage everybody to be involved with. And as we all know, I know I'm preaching to the converted, but all the energy communities, these partnerships, they can contribute to climate objectives. They can improve energy efficiency and reduce energy poverty. They produce clean local energy. They can boost local engagement and citizenship and democracy, and they can also boost local economic development. And I'm just going to go through, just very briefly, the 10 ways that cities can support community energy. So that in the Scale 2030-50 guide, which you can read afterwards with many more examples, they basically identify these 10 ways that cities could support the movement. So, for example, developing favourable regulations for community energy and setting targets, for example, in the climate action plans, is a really useful way. And I know that was something we did in the municipality I worked for. And so, for example, in Valencia, they set a goal to establish 100 energy community projects within a city by 2030. In Leuven, they've set a goal around setting up an energy community and aiming for 40% of households to participate. So really having these targets, these concrete targets, they're embedded in all the sort of roadmaps and strategies can make a massive difference in terms of getting different departments in the municipality on board and embedding it. Engagement and outreach is another really key area that the municipality can help with. And I know that from my personal experience, we found that doing a joint communications campaign is really helpful and useful, because it means that you can basically massively increase your reach. And often when you're setting up, I know that it was the case with us, it was our first projects, nobody really knew who we were as an energy community, but when you put it through the municipality, people know the municipality, they have confidence, they trust that organization. So doing it together in terms of citizens on the ground and the municipality just made a massive difference. And in the project I was involved with, we thought, but people told us, oh, you need 6 weeks at least to raise 300,000. We raised it in 4 days. People were just like, yes, we want to invest. We want to do good things with our money, and you get a good return on your investment, and you're helping clean energy. So it was just such a great combination. And there is also a community energy communications guide, which is available on the repository website, which again has lots of examples and ideas of how to engage the communities in this way. Number 3 is supporting, support through financing projects. And again, speaking from experience, I know that when we first set up, you're often starting, from scratch with no resources and no funding. And so we actually got a little bit of money from the municipality and from a local transition group. It was only 500 euros each, but that made such a difference, because it meant we could cover our legal fees to set up as a legal entity. It meant we could set up our website. It just made such a difference. So having even though it may seem small, having a small amount of seed funding that potentially the energy community then pays back, that then can be used to support other community energy projects to develop, makes such a difference. So I definitely think that's a really useful and powerful approach. There is also, as I say, when you're setting up, obviously the banks also are less likely to sort of trust you or have confidence, and so actually working with the municipality, for example, in Culemborg in the Netherlands, they used a municipal guarantee to obtain a bank loan to finance their initial project. So again, that's a really good way that the two organizations can collaborate. There are also different services that the energy communities can provide. So, and that was again something we were looking at in the UK, but it's around the energy community acting as a service company, an energy service company. So, for example, in Belgium, they upgraded the street lighting to LEDs, and the municipality actually gave a contract to the local community energy company, and they were the ones that then got the citizens involved, and they invested, and they managed to upgrade all of the lights and get a return on their investment and get better LED, more efficient lighting. And then crowdfunding, again, that's a great way to get people involved. And last year in Croatia, on the island of Križevci, there was a campaign to collect 65,000 euros over 2 months, and they collected 100,000 in just 3 weeks for their first solar plant. So again, it's that combination of promoting things through the municipality and having that mixture of confidence and then on the ground enthusiasm and citizens involved that is such a powerful dynamic. Sharing staff and resources. I know that Strasbourg have been doing that. And again, in my experience in the UK, we also did that. We worked with master's students, and we did, for example, an analysis looking at all the solar potential on the local roofs, which was so useful, and also useful for the student who was doing a dissertation around solar generation and community involvement. There are other examples as well, for example, in Leuven, where they work with engineering students. So really, that's a very useful resource to be tapping into, and it's sort of mutually beneficial as well. Developing supporting platforms, tools and programs. So for example, having the maps, as I mentioned earlier, we did an analysis, just quite a basic one, but there are other places, for example, in Rajn in Croatia, they have an interactive web application where you can actually look at the solar potential of the different roofs. And that's so useful as an energy community or even just as a citizen to be like, okay, great. Well, I realize now I can do 20 kilowatts on that roof. How can we do that together? And how can we make this work? And it saves a lot of time and effort. And then, as mentioned previously, there are also one-stop shops, and there's many examples of these. And as I mentioned, they're on the website as well. But in Valencia, for example, in Spain, and also in Ghent in Belgium, they have a one-stop energy office, and citizens can go there and find out about energy retrofit, about renewables, and also look at how they can collaborate together to do more in their communities to reduce their bills and their carbon emissions. Facilitating dialogues between local stakeholders. Again, from personal experience, that was hugely useful because, as I said, you're often starting off as a small group that no one's heard of. And for example, we were looking at opportunities on the industrial estate, and they were like, well, who are you? But when we work with the municipality, and this municipality saying, right, we want to go zero carbon by 2030, we need everyone on board, and this energy cooperative is trustworthy and can put solar panels on your roof for free. It just is such a powerful message. And there are examples, for example, in Greece, where the development agency helped set up a regional energy cooperative because they have the contacts and the existing relationships, and they were able to do that successfully. Giving access to public sites, again, that's really that's one of the areas that's really important. So looking as a municipality at what land you have, what buildings you have, what are the opportunities, and then working with energy communities to put the solar, to put the different renewables, or to do LED retrofit in schools. There are many different examples of how that can work together. And through another project that we're involved in called Life Loop, we're developing a tool which enables municipalities and others, businesses, social housing landlords to list their assets, and then communities to go on there and say, okay, right, so we can see there's a big school roof there that we could potentially look at, and just to start the discussions around that. Then there is the number 8, there is buying community power or heat. So local authorities can put these criteria in their tenders that more or less directly favors citizen-owned energy supply, and that can be more, that's why it's good to look at the procurement guide, because that also, there are different regulations in different countries around this. But some cities are setting up community power purchase agreements, CPPAs, which are again really useful, because as a small energy community, it can be really hard to be tendering against a larger, multinational, for example. But the approach and the projects that they develop are hugely successful often. So looking at ways that you can integrate community energy into that procurement process is really useful. And again, there are many examples such as Eklo, where they tendered for the district heating network, and they set a target of having a minimum of 20% citizen ownership. And I'm near the end now, so we can pass on to our excellent speakers. Number 9, there is co-investing in jointly owned local projects. So, for example, there are many examples, but for example, in Belgium, there was 2 municipalities where they organised a joint public tender for the development, construction, and operation of a wind farm, and that's with wind in particular. I would say that's really good to have that cross collaboration, because there are larger projects that kind of sort of regional significance. And then finally, there is becoming a direct member of an energy community, which I would really recommend to everybody involved and everybody in our virtual room today, because it's a hugely powerful message. And as a municipality, when you're involved in an energy community, it really shows that yes, you believe in this approach, and that you're setting the example that others should follow. Great, that's it. And as I say, if you're not already not already on our newsletter, please do contact, or you want to find out more information, please do contact us on the email there, which is info@ecrepository.eu. Thank you very much. Great. Okay, well, without further ado, I think we'll save, I'm not sure if there's any questions, but maybe we'll have questions at the end. I think now I'd like to pass over to Mario Rajn, the Mayor of Križevci, who's going to talk to us about his experience of these city-citizen collaborations. Thank you, Mario.
Well, hello to everyone. I hope that you hear me well. I will try to share my screen. Hopefully you see it. Do you see it, please? Yeah, okay, great. Yeah, so Križevci, obviously the headline is on the way to energy independence, because this is our main strategic goal back from 2017, when we got elected as a group of independent citizens. So just to give you a brief overview of the size of the city and so on. So Križevci are in the Koprivnica-Križevci county, which is rather close to the Zagreb capital, like 50 or 60 kilometers from the Zagreb. We have 19,000 inhabitants, and you see that we have 60 settlements, meaning that we have one urban area which has more than half of the whole population, and 59 surrounding villages on the surface of 264 square kilometers, so rather big, and a rather low density of population. So you see, my good colleague suggested that I should mention that we have favorable climate, abundance of water, and fertile soil, but most definitely we are on the continental part of Croatia. One of our first plans or documents that we started from is the SECAP, as we tended to have the whole energy image of the city. So our SECAP suggested back in 2018 that we produced 38,000 tons of CO2 emissions per year. You see from traffic sector 54% of the emissions, from housing sector 46%, and out of that 75% for heating and 25% of electricity. So we just wanted to have some kind of stepping stone or first document that we will start from. Obviously, there are some things that could be done more or sooner, some of them later, but we had to have a clear, or we had to try to have a clear roadmap up to 2030. And something that we most definitely saw that we have to do is to rely on 3 pillars. And actually, first pillar is to put citizens first, meaning that we want to talk with citizens in practically each and every big decision, not ask citizens only 1 in 4 years when are obviously elections, but we want to have engagement on the practically day or weekly basis. Also, we wanted to make sure that we are committed to midterm and long-term goals, and that our citizens are aware of that. So this is the part that we are trying to, in each and every situation, emphasize the fact that we want to be energy independent by 2030. And the third pillar is the one that we call leaving no man behind. And that, in a way, I want to emphasize the fact that we want to deal, and we are trying to deal from 2017 with the energy poverty issues. And that is also something obvious that we try to make in each and every project or project idea, make a great point on that. So how did it all begin? Meaning that we wanted to talk with citizens. Back in 2018, we started with the Križevci Solar Roof project or campaign, which is actually a crowdfunding campaign, more like the one was suggested in Strasbourg back last year. So we wanted to make from our citizens also investors, or to be a part of locally owned energy production. So we had the first crowdfunding campaign in 2018. We installed a photovoltaic power plant on the Development Center and Technology Park, which is a building owned by City of Križevci. In 2019, we installed additional one on the City Library, Franjo Marković. You will see a lot more details in the next couple of slides, but from that point, we got a critical mass of our citizens, because in the first campaign, we engaged with 53 of our citizens, investors. In the second one, additional 40. And out of that, they established a Click Energy Cooperative. So we started with first crowdfunding, and after that, citizens went towards Energy Cooperative, being the first local one in Croatia. It is called Click, or Križevci Laboratory for Innovation and Climate. Actually, this cooperative, one of their first documents and goals towards the city administration was to most definitely start co-financing solar power plants on family houses, or actually households. And we know, at that point, we knew that we are aiming towards 30 megawatts of renewables installed by 2030. And when you strategically diverse that goal, we know for the fact that we need to have at least 1,000 households with solar or photovoltaics installations. Just to give you a perspective, 1,000 households out of 5,800 that we have in Križevci. So we started with that project. In 2021, we voted the strategic plan for the whole decade of development of City of Križevci, but this plan is actually specific in a way that we engaged more than 600 of our citizens in focus groups. And keep in mind, that was the time during the Corona, the pandemic, obviously. So even though a lot of our citizens weren't familiar with teleworking and Teams and so on, still we had more than 600 people involved, mostly by open source platform that we installed on our official website, which is actually a console platform. And it was a great success because we engaged once more a lot of citizens. They really contributed to the whole program, but more often they feel actually a part of that. After that, in 2021, in September, Energy Cooperative established Energy Climate Office with support of City of Križevci. And I like to emphasize one fact, and maybe some of you already heard me saying that. We wanted to give for the cooperative, for this kind of office, the best available business space that we have in Križevci. So it is on main city square. It is just by the sidewalk. It is very visible. And I cannot emphasize enough the fact that if you want the citizens to be involved, and if you want to establish a one-stop shop like we tried to, and still are trying, you have to make it available to citizens to see it on a daily basis. So it cannot be like in a city administration building on the second floor, third door on the left, where people have to put a lot of effort to find it. It has to be available for them. So once again, I'm very proud of that fact that the best available publicly owned space. I'm not saying that it is unfortunately the best business space in the whole city, but the one that it is owned by City of Križevci, it is for Energy Climate Office. And just a half year after that, and I'm very proud of that fact, inside that office, we started with Energy Poverty Alleviation Center, because once again, the third pillar is leaving no man behind. The topic of energy poverty is crucial, and we have to have it on our mind in each and every situation. So these are the facts I mentioned. Some of them regarding campaign Križevci Solar Roof. Back in 2018, we had 10 days campaign for 30,000 euros. Obviously, we have that amount in the local budget, but we wanted to make and emphasize that we want to have local investors, private persons. We had 52 investors in that case, with 4.5% of annual interest rate that they are actually having from that point on. You see now some data that from that point in 2018 to this day, how many of clean energy was produced and how many tons of CO2 emissions reduced. Similar on the city library of Rajn Markovic, that was campaigned in 2019. And you can see that it was done in 48 hours, meaning the people were very eager after first campaign, and they were very positive. And we also, to be honest, got a lot of national attention regarding PR. So this is also a great point of view for if you need visibility, we got it. And from a city point of view and policy or politics point of view, to be honest, I'm a politician, but more often citizens got fully engaged in this kind of campaigns. These are the facts, and this is what I was trying to see. So this office is downstairs. You can see the main sidewalk. Unfortunately, it isn't a wider picture. On the right from that sidewalk is the main city square. And this is how it looks inside. Obviously, this is a meeting place for citizens where they can find direct data how to be a part of energy transition and using renewables, but also how to deal with energy poverty, because we were included in a couple of projects when we got energy poverty advisors educated, and they went on households on their doorsteps and give them LED lightnings and so on, and some way to reduce energy usage, but also to promote renewables that could be implemented on their side. This is the part of co-financing. Back in 2000, we started with first 2 projects and 3 power plants, all built. Obviously, as people got acknowledgement of that, we saw last year, and due to the whole energy crisis, 72 project documentations that were co-financed by our side and 47 power plants. This year, we also have this kind of open call for our citizens. So far, we got 40 applications. But from this year, 2023, we have one call for the documentation and installation itself. So prior years, we had one call for just building project documentation, one for the installation, but we now got info from our citizens once again that we should deal with that in one call, and that they are more than willing to engage. This is our geoinformatical system from backend, or the way I see it. So you see this urban area of city of Križevci, and these little dots are already built solar power plants on family houses. So you see at this point we have 99 of them. Once again, I said by the 2030 we want to have 1,000 of them. So we are on like 10%, but I'm fully committed, and I really believe that we can achieve that goal by 2030. Not just achieve it, but we can also go beyond that. Also 9 power plants of business entities. And this is the big project that we are currently working on. So this is, we call it big power plant, but obviously 5 megawatts that will be installed. You can see it on this picture with this, I think it is red circle. Sorry, I'm colorblind, but I'm trying to do my best, like my colleagues suggested. But 5 megawatts project documentation completely built by City of Križevci on our city-owned plot. But we want to include as much as possible citizens. Obviously, we are trying to find a strategic partner, and we have a couple of more than willing partners that want to contribute. But first and foremost, we have to at least 20% of our citizens engage to be investors. And on the other hand, the energy produced will be used in local entities, in local businesses, or we will at least try to offer them on a good price. So this is a project that is actually, we are hoping to be built somewhere during this autumn, as we have main project and construction permit. And just at this point, we are trying to talk with our partners, which are especially Green Energy Cooperative, or ZES. You probably heard them on the Croatian level. But we are really optimistic regarding this project. So obviously, to conclude, our goal is to use locally available energy sources and to allow the community to benefit from it, but also to have energy stability, and most often to include citizens in this whole energy transition, but also to be on a very positive side of Križevci 2030 goal. And this is my last slide. Thank you. I was trying to be as brief as possible, but I am very eager to answer all of your questions later. And actually, it would be my honor, and I would glad to be in collaboration or in communication with you. This is my email, direct email. So if at any point you have any additional questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Mario. So inspiring and amazing to see how it's all scaling up, even since I think I last saw you speak about a year ago, and it's so much has happened since. It's incredible. And I love the fact you've given your best office to the one-stop shop. That's definitely best practice. Thank you so much. So next we'll pass over to Jelena Nikolic from Elektropionir in Serbia. And yeah, thank you very much.
I hope that you all can hear me. I will share my now. Before that, I completely played the story of a really good job, and I'm always really happy to hear that enthusiastic story and how much do you put in all of those projects. So thank you in the name of the people.
As Jelena, sorry, just before you start, your sound is cutting out a tiny bit. I just maybe turn off your camera so that we can, it's a shame not to see you, but maybe, close the video, and then hopefully the sound will be a bit clearer. Thank you.
Try to do that. I hope it's better now. I'm on faculty, and probably we have some problem with the internet, but I hope that you can hear me now.
Yes, I think it's much better. Yeah, thank you.
So I'm from Energy Cooperative Elektropionir from Serbia, and I'm to have the opportunity to tell you our story. Well, I'm not going to talk about all of our activities, but I will going to talk about Solarna Stara. It's the star of our works, and we are really proud of this. It was a crowdfunding campaign, and I will start with the background. So, as you probably know, Serbia is mainly goal region, and when you have that situation, believe is not so common, and you will have even more problem when you go to the parts of our country where citizens had a bad experience with renewable. On this picture, you in a mountain. It's probably the most beautiful part of our country, and it's a naturally protected area. What happened there? Well, some rich people went there with the idea they decide to use all of the rivers for producing electricity. Well, I just have to mention that I'm a mechanical engineer, and as engineer, it's not like I have anything against the hydropower, but when they are installed in a sustainable way, according to regulations and all engineering rules. That wasn't the situation in this mountain and in those two villages where we launched our company. So those two villages, Dojkinci and Temska, went out of the fresh water, and it should be mentioned that agriculture is the main economical field in this area. So consequently, cities really angry. We had a protest and we had an even fight on. So what Elektropionir wanted to do, we had to go there and to show the villagers that renewables can be sustainable and that we all can have benefits of that. So the first part and the more crucial step campaign, the citizens then that PV panels can be something good, that we all can be happy to have something like that on roof buildings. And we knew back then, if they approve, the future of all of us is waiting somewhere around the corner. Happily, we had a great collaboration with the president of local community. He is a really enthusiastic and charismatic guy, and luckily citizen wanted to listen to him. So we organized something like round table that you can see on the right picture of my presentation. We had a lot of questions. We had a lot of, I mean, it was a really huge discussion, but in the end, results was great. So we decided to launch our campaign, which is the longest day in Serbia. It was symbolically because we wanted to start something like that when we have the most power of the sun all around us, and we had only 1 month to collect. We did a really hard job. We tried to, social media, television, I mean, any kind of media. And this was the great situation when people in Serbia show us they do believe in just transition and they do want to become a part of such important thing to today's. So we had more than 1,000 people that donate money. And the most important part of our campaign is that we don't want to money for but community to support their project and to improve their quality of life. So as you can see, we collected, I mean, this is our idea. We will install our panels in a rooftop. It's a public building, something like a cultural center of those two villages. And we will have 5 kilowatt peak in each building. So I hope that till the end of this year, we will have a first kilowatt hour of citizen energy in Serbia, something like that have never been in our country. So that was the great situation when we showed that I mean, after a long time, I think that was our opportunity to show that we can be all together for something. We didn't fight against anything. We just want to have some good idea to work. We wanted to it can be for good of all of us. And this is like a last slide of my presentation because I want to save words for your. have to mention that nothing is possible without Pirot municipality. I have to mention Bojan Ivkovic. He is energy manager of City of the Pirot, and he is amazing guy, completely open to new ideas. And when you know speaking with him, you can see that sparkle in the eyes, and he just wanted our project to be successful, and he wanted to have that good practice in Pirot municipality. So he put a lot of effort. We didn't have a problem with signing of agreement, and I have to say that we just got our official approval. We can our PV plants on top of the roof. It's something that usually takes for more than, sometimes even more than 1 year to get that paper, but we were lucky and we already got it. We all just our next step is the installation of the roof, and as I already mentioned, I hope that till the end of this year have of citizens energy in Serbia. So if you're interested in more information, not only about Solarna Stara, but in our cooperative things, you can always visit our website or you can contact me. I'm always really, I enjoy to share our story.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Jelena. There was
you.
a couple of little bits of breakup, but we could generally follow your very attractive slides, and it was great to hear your story. I like the idea of having more people with sparkles in their eyes being inspired by community energy. And as you say as well, that's the power of the community energy movement, isn't it? It's about saying yes. It's not just about saying no, we don't want this. It's like, yes, this is how we're going to do it, and it's so positive.
It was really great.
Yeah.
We were also you know, we just enjoying that process, and we were curious if we will succeed, because in Serbia, when we are talking about the nation, you still can feel that skepticism around, but not this time. This time it's something really, really.
It's really great to see, isn't it?
So thank you
Gives us hope.
your attention. Yeah.
Thanks very much. Great. We'll pass over to Gerard Pol now, and then at the end we'll have questions and more time for discussion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Anna, for having me. I'm uploading my PowerPoint, so please let me know if you can see my screen halfway.
Yep, it's up now. That's
okay,
great.
Cool, excellent. So once again, thank you for having me. I'm going to tell you about our little story regarding how we support, we're trying to support energy communities here in Strasbourg in France. So very first slide to tell you about Strasbourg, which is the city in France, in the border with Germany, and what is our role here. So I work in this common administration, this merged administration that we have in Strasbourg. So the city and the metropolitan area are merged in only one administration back in the 70s, and the energy planning is within the metro area responsibility. So that's why we are talking about this right now. So the energy community adventure for us started like in 2019, and I'm going to tell you about this 5. It's 5 or 6. It's written 5 and 6 at the same time. Tools that we've been using to support energy communities and to accompany its uptake. So it was mainly give them a clear role: energy planning, facilitation, buying shares, public roof tendering, sustained assistance, and a graduation project as well. I will go step by step to tell you about it. The very first thing for us is that energy planning is within the metropolitan jurisdiction. So, and for that purpose, we have like 2 main road books, 2 main documents that are very important for us. We have a CCAP, like many old cities in Europe, that aims for this 40% renewable energy for 2030. Sorry, there's one. And we also have an energy master plan So CCAP is mandatory document, and the master plan is a voluntary document. And this master plan is a roadbook for 100% renewable energies in 2050. So in this energy master plan, we know exactly how the role of each renewable energy source that can be deployed in our territory. And it was in this exercise of finding each renewable energy for our roadmap that we decided, or somehow we said, that, for instance, for photovoltaics, it would be very interesting to take 2030 goal, which was to have like 57 megawatt peak installed, and have at least one of these megawatts that was community owned in 2030. So for that, we actually needed to have some sort of structure of energy operator that was run by citizens, and this is how the energy community adventure started. So the very first thing was giving a clear role for energy communities in energy planning. So the second thing that we did was facilitation. So in 2019, the Metropole launched this community energy support scheme. We tendered for this task, and there was this local association called Alter Alsace Energie who helped us. And we did a certain number of workshops, facilitating workshops during 4 or 5 months. And a group of 5 or 10 very convinced people showed up each time. And that became like the hardcore of the energy community. So these people were there thanks to our facilitation, all the different workshops. But on the other hand, they were also there even when we were not preparing workshops. So they drafted the status of this brand new energy community, even during the COVID pandemic, which was quite hard for them because there was Zoom meetings with a very harsh topic. So it was not a very fun thing to do. There were no people putting solar panels on roofs, but there are people just drafting very boring sentences on paper. Despite that, after these 25 workshops, 63 hours, almost 50 citizens, and one pandemic, the energy brewers were born, which are not officially a cooperative, because it was simpler to just create a simplified joint stock company, whatever. But in the statutes of the company, they are acting as a cooperative. So that means that one person, one vote, independently on the capital that you have in equity. So that was the second step, facilitation. For the third step, for us, was how the local government was going to actually support this brand new company or cooperative that was created. And there was a decision on the Metropolitan Council in 2020 to purchase 100 shares of this new cooperative. So it just was like around 10,000 euros. And the goal was mainly expanding the equity capital for this very first project. Just bear in mind that the rest of the equity capital was just given by 10 or 12 individuals. So there was not a lot of equity at that very first point. And on the other hand, our executive, our local government, was very eager to support and to promote this kind of solutions. So they were really happy to communicate about it. So buying shares was a very important part for stabilization of the new company. Fourth tool was mainly public roof tendering. So we decided that we wanted to offer a roof that was PV ready for energy communities. So for that, the very first thing to do was to have a decision of the city council that we were authorizing the provision of 3 roofs for energy communities. It was quite generic, but it was on an official decision of the city council. And for that, we also did some feasibility studies before tendering, in order to guarantee the sustainability of the roof and support the project by de-risking this very first installation. So it's also something interesting because we did these studies on, I think, 6 roofs, and only 2 of them were PV ready, actually. So it's also a very important exercise that we have the feeling that all roofs are PV ready, and they are not. So it's important to just find the good ones. So with all that information, we chose the very first roof and we tendered in order to propose this roof to energy communities. What was interesting in this tendering is that we actually spoke about citizen energy community according to the energy directive and the energy code that was the energy directive transposition in France. So that helped us just to find energy communities that were interested on our public roof, but also that it was important to bear in mind that the fact that it was a very small and not very interesting roof project, it just took big operators away from tendering. So we had the chance actually to have energy communities answering, and the energy community that we were supporting just answered to the tender, and we had the possibility of giving them the roof for the next 20 or 25 years. But the fifth tool that we wanted to stress out is the fact that sustained assistance for the creation is needed for energy communities, because after tendering, where our energy brewers proposed a very nice project for the very nice school roof, we thought that we were done, that the local government had done its job and we could just go home and the whole thing would move on. And that was not actually true. So that's why I put this thing that I call the mudometer, because the way the project flows was not very constant the whole time, because we are just exposed to up and downs and several setbacks in the creation of the energy community. So, for instance, one major setback for us was a major change in feed-in tariffs that occurred just after the roof tendering. So the whole business plan of our energy community collapsed because it didn't work anymore. They couldn't just add some local helps with feed-in tariffs. So somehow mood was in its lowest at that point, and they needed to just rebuild themselves and to refine another way of using that roof, so rethinking the whole project. So that's one of the things I wanted to stress out, is the fact that this motivation and these setbacks are always there, and it's probably something good to keep on supporting the energy community until the very first roof, the very first installation is completely up and running. So the other setbacks is that probably the feed-in tariffs as we know it today are very low, and they are supposed to disappear in some years. That's the trend that we are seeing right now. So the energy community needs to learn how to live without feed-in tariffs. So that will probably go to energy sharing, self-consumption, etc. And that's just a brand new set of skills that you have to consolidate and to help building if you are not professionalized. And in this sustained assistance, we seized the opportunity for energy communities that was given by the energy community repository. So there was an application for technical assistance in 2022. There was this application was supported by our local politicians, so that we thought that it could give some more weight to the candidacy. And the energy brewers, they were rewarded with a 3-day training, which helped the energy community in many ways. It was mainly game changing. They trained the members of the cooperative and they give them some self-confidence in the possibility of bringing the project to a successful conclusion with a very consolidated business plan. So that was very interesting to just reach the step where we are right now. And just to finalize, there was our sixth tool, once the business plan was really consolidated, thanks to the training of the energy repository, we had the possibility of putting someone who was doing a graduation project from an engineering school to work with them for their graduation project. So in our department, in our energy department, we have 3 apprentices that work half-time, part-time in the energy department and part-time in their engineering school here in Strasbourg. So Valentine, who works with me, she has been part of the renewable energy department, and she's been working in this topic. She just took the energy brewer topic as her main focus for the last 6 or 9 months, and she's been working on that, and she's been actually being sort of a fixer for the energy brewers for the last 6 or 9 months, because she was dealing with all the 9 to 5 red tape thing that volunteers can't do when they end their work at 6. So that was extremely helpful for them. And I just think that it's a very, very good tool to make this cooperation between university or engineering schools and local governments, energy communities to help each other. By the way, Valentine, she's defending her graduation project tomorrow at 9, so fingers crossed. Even if she doesn't need any luck, because she's the best and she will kill it. But we'll think about her tomorrow. So. Finally, some uptakes of these energy projects, energy community with local governments. Some lessons learned. First of all, political support is crucial. It doesn't work without it. Second thing, it's important to contextualize. You need to give energy communities a role. And they are, and we want them to be a major stakeholder of energy transition, and we need to tell that, to explain them that. It's important also to work with the existing associative network as a starting point. Again, the plug and play, the PV ready public roofs, that's quite interesting, because otherwise you can lose a lot of time before finding the very first roof, if you want to give public roofs. And working with the in-house legal department from the very beginning, because public tendering, it's quite complex in that case. So everybody has to be clear with their role and clear with the way we are tendering, and we are trying to focus on energy communities and not classic energy operators. Again, local governments can become stakeholders, and that helps a lot with initial capex, but also it gives credibility to the proposal when they go to negotiate with banks, just to have municipal guarantees, etc. So it's quite important. And for us, next steps, as I said, is this continuous support, because mainly we need to shift from feed-in tariffs to energy sharing schemes, which are more complex projects than just selling electricity to the grid, but they are also more rewarding. And we also, I didn't put a slide on that, but we are working in a big 5 megawatt peak solar farm in a brownfield, where we want these community energies to co-invest with the local government. So more news on that in 2-3 years. So that's it from my side, and I will be happy to answer any questions that come up. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Gerard. That was really great to hear what you've been doing, and also to hear that the support that you received through the repository was useful. And again, it's one of those cases where there's no point in reinventing the wheel. We were lucky enough to work with the Centrale Villageoise, who have a really quite detailed financial model, and so they then provided the training and enabled the Réseau d'énergie to develop these financial scenarios. So that was really great. And also the collaboration with the university, as you say, it's so important and such a great resource to be able to support the development of the community. So definitely. Good luck to Valentine for tomorrow. Yeah, thank you. Are there any questions or any thoughts? At the moment, the chat's very quiet, but you're welcome to also put your hand up and ask a question directly, or maybe the presentations were so clear that everything we've already covered it all. I don't know. Miriam from the repository, do you would you like to ask a question?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to give people the space, but maybe something that's always interesting to know is whether you've encountered any barriers in the process, setting up the energy community. I mean, they can be at different levels. You already outlined some challenges, but would be interesting if there were specific barriers that you remember and how you overcame them. I know that's always very interesting for people. Basically, a general question to all speakers.
Jelena, did you put your hand up?
Yes, maybe I can start with our story. Our beginning is really interesting because in Serbia, you don't have a clear regulation about energy community, and energy cooperative are not part of our regulation. But Elektropionir doesn't wait for things to happen. We are dealing, like, we know what we want to do, so we are always trying to find a way how to do it. So we are working according to regulation for cooperative in general, like we are in the same basket as agricultural cooperative or any other cooperative. So yes, in the beginning we struggle a lot, especially because in Serbia, okay, we are established a few years ago, and back then citizen wasn't recognized as a part of our regulation. I mean, we didn't have a possibility to produce our own electricity. So Elektropionir really fight for that. So first we try to introduce prosumer as a concept in our regulation form. And after that, we are, still fighting for the citizens' right to be part of just transition in here. So yes, we are struggling. As I mentioned, we are learning by doing. I mean, some really often for a lot of our projects, we don't know how we'll go to our. I mean, how we will going to deal with all stuff. But we just believe in ourselves, and we do believe that when you have citizens, you have a lot of power in your hands. So a lot of things actually could be done. So yes, that's basically our story and our not so perfect situation.
Brilliant. But as you say, yes, together we can overcome these barriers, and that's why the capacity building workshops that we're organising in the 14 different countries are hopefully also a good opportunity to be saying, learning from others. How did you get over this? And when, as you say, when there's no
really
legal, learning from others for sure. That's great. Thank you, Mario. Did you have an example of a barrier?
Yeah, thank you. Actually, also in Croatia, we still don't have any energy community established, and just at this point, there is on the public consultation a document that should arrange how energy communities should work in Croatia, and also to be honest and give big kudos to Green Energy Cooperative, or ZES, once again. They were very, very eager last maybe 16 months, because the first document under the law, because obviously you have like a national law on energy communities, but you have to wait for different kind of acts under this law. The first iteration of this act suggested that you could establish energy community only on the same low voltage substation, which is a huge disadvantage in Croatia terms, meaning practically on Križevci scale level, we found only one, and this substation is called our school district, where we have like 6 schools on the same substation where we could establish energy community. In most often cases, you have a couple of interested parts, but they are obviously not on the same substation because they are not in the same part of the city, and the whole thing fell apart. Now with this suggested changes that obviously once again ZES give a lot of effort into that, this thing was completely put away, thank God, and hopefully after this document will be voted in our government, it should be easier. This isn't the only impact. I'm saying this is that was the biggest in dealing with on a daily basis with citizens. There are also a couple of points that Zdes made really good in this whole process. So I'm really optimistic regarding maybe September or start of autumn. From Križevci point of view, and I will conclude with that, we are always trying to, through CLIC and Energy Climate Office, to just keep people informed and eager around this concept, actually to prepare them when we will have the whole engagement, so we can have green light and just go straight ahead. Yeah, thank you.
Brilliant, thank you. It's great to see how we're all working with citizens to overcome these challenges and keeping people motivated. Gerard, you talked about some barriers in your presentation. Do you have anything additional to mention? Or any examples?
Not additional examples, but I want just to stress out that public procurement is a major barrier for supporting energy communities. It's not a barrier; it's a reality that's there. So we have to deal with it, and it's complicated, and you need to be a little bit imaginative. And on the other side, there's all about feeding tariff laws in different countries. So in France, we had this very big change in the 2021, where they decided that there was a very strict prohibition on the accumulating of public aids. So if you were selling electricity on a feed-in tariff, even if it's just the rests of self-consumption, you are not allowed to have some local or regional aids that may exist. So that was very complicated for everyone, and we understand why this law exists, because to avoid certain windfall profits. But on the other hand, a little exception could have been thought or imagined for energy communities in order to just jumpstart the whole thing, and once they are up and running, they will find their own model. So that's the very first thing. And the second thing, for energy sharing in the future, there are also some sort of public procurement things that are not clear still today. We don't have jurisdiction on how can we just integrate some sort of energy sharing scheme with citizens if you are a local government and you are not the one carrying the project in the first place. So do you have the right? Do you have to tender that? How do you tender a local sharing? I mean, it's complicated, and we need to find some solutions for that makes everyone at ease legally.
Definitely, thank you. Yeah, I know personally when I've spoken to some procurement departments and in other European projects, sometimes they're like, well, we can't do this because of this, and then actually it's about looking the flip side, isn't it? Like, what can we do? How do we make it happen? We need to be positive and be like, yes, and also yes, be learning from others how they've overcome these barriers and how we can all be working together. And it's just really inspiring to all these positive actions that you're all taking. So thank you so much for your time today. It was really great. Are there any other final comments or questions from participants? Just to say that the recording of this session will be available on our website, and all the resources that we referred to as well will be there. So, and we'd love to keep in touch. So do join our newsletter if you haven't already. And if there's no final questions, anything coming up in the last minute, otherwise we could finish maybe 1 minute early. But thank you so much. Thanks so much to the speakers. Thanks to the repository. Thanks to everybody that's here today for your time and energy. And together we can do these amazing projects. So thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.